We love old cemeteries and churchyards, so come with us as we explore these places for the past. We are at Urmston Cemetery, which is through there. No idea how old it is. The sat nav just brought me here, but it does have our favourite sign outside. Not sure of an age. There's definitely some very modern things here and some older looking ones. I'm thinking sort of early 1900s. Yes, there is Mary Kate, wife of Henry Robert, from 1917. So this is it's possibly comparatively new. There might not be anything very old here. Still quite a pretty place. So let's, for the sake of completeness of our Manchester adventures, have a look round. There is loving memory of Alfred, beloved husband of Hannah Simcoe from 1919, and Hannah herself from 1921. And a couple of military types in loving remembrance of Fred Beckett, RNAS, Royal Naval Air Service, from HMS President II, who was accidentally drowned in Kent, the River Medway, in 1917. And he's got a nice wee anchor on his tombstone, and the rest of his family down there. And next to him we've got Private Leonard Edge, the beloved husband of Anne Edge, who died 6th of March 1916, so during the First World War. I wonder where he was killed. And another one in memory of Edith Annie, beloved daughter of Harry and Jane Graves, who died in 1917, but then sort of it's been cleaned up there and rubbed away a bit. I don't know if it's been cleaned up or if it's been it looks like someone's been trying to rub it out. Private Fred Graves, 39751, of the 15th HLN Lancs. I don't know what HLN is, but I'll find out. Killed in action October the 1st, 1918, so not long before the end of the war. Taking a slight detour into a slightly newer part, because that's quite impressive, isn't it? That's quite a nice carving on that. In loving memory of my dearly beloved wife Elizabeth Ledger, who died in 1932. And next to that, in memory of George Hutchison, who died in 1932 as well. So we're in the 1930s in this part of the graveyard. Let's see if there's anything a wee bitty older over there. Oh, there's quite a cool big stone with an urn on the top. That's rather impressive. Let's get round the far side of that. And in loving memory of my dear husband Frank, who died in 1923, and that is from Helena Mary, who died in 1943. There are some rather nice memorials in this wee graveyard. I am quite glad we stopped off, but I usually say that. We're moving into an area now that's got some quite nice statues in it. That's quite cool. An angel cuddling the cross. It's quite well done. Let's see if you can see. It's in loving memory of, I shouldn't laugh, Fanny Dell, beloved wife of James Ryde, who the master called in 1923. And this is the Kinder family from the 1930s. Amelia, beloved wife of James, and also James, but that's quite a lot bigger than anything else in this wee corner. But we are going across this way because I've seen something that harks back to our time in Ireland, and also more recently at that wee cemetery down the road. There is an anchor, but this one has got its chain intact, and you can see there it is actually all from one piece of stone. There's no joins in that. You wouldn't be able to join stone anyway, I don't think. That is really impressive. Okay, let's find out who this is. In affectionate remembrance of Captain William Howitt, RN, late of Dumfries in Scotland, who died at Lidnochmount, Urmston, which is where we are, in 1895. So that has lasted very well, and it does confirm what we were wondering. Are these chains originally intact? Do they go all the way around? And yes, they do. That is lovely. Yes, you're lovely too. You don't have to put your hand up, we're coming to see you anyway. Hello, this is in memory of Sarah Haworth Daisy, eldest daughter of Charles Fawn and Sarah Reid, died in 1903, it says there. Sure, I can't read that. What does that say? Called, hyphen, chosen, called, chosen, faithful, not called, choked in anything. And these are quite impressive lying downy type tombs. That is in loving memory of George Pixton Tate of the Thorns, Urmston, who died in 1897, aged 71. And George, his son, Elizabeth, his wife, who died in 1901, and Charles Pixton Tate, who doesn't say what his relationship was. Anyway, and over here, that's quite another another impressive piece of carving, and that is in memory of Richard James JP. Yep, a man with money, a man with status, a justice of the peace, and he was from the Grange, Urmston, and died in 1892, I think that says. And also Maria Sissy, his daughter, who died in 1893 in Christchurch, New Zealand. And the next big lying down one is in memory of Thomas Armstrong of Moorfield, Urmston, who died in 1893. He was born in 1828. Ian, read it properly before you start telling these nice people nonsense. And there's one with quite a lot of lead. That is in loving memory of Lucy Fairmond, who died in 1906. And over here we're back into the 1930s, and over there we're into the 1990s and 2000, and over there I can see a little row of, actually quite a big row of Commonwealth war graves. So let's head over there and have a look at those guys. Whenever you see a big gravestone like this, you know you're going to find somebody a bit special or a bit important on it, and this is the wife of Anne Bash, but she's not the main reason that it's here, obviously. It is of Thomas Bash, vicar of this parish, 1928 to 1945. The chapel in the middle of the cemetery is very impressive. I think there's actually two chapels here, possibly two denominations like Catholic and Church of England or something, but they do share that monumental gateway and that really cool looking tower. This is a really nice and very quiet, at the moment, wee place. Nobody's come along and told me to go away yet, which is always a bonus. These are all Second World War. These are all privates, corporal grade. These are two privates and a corporal from the Pioneer Corps, and there's another Pioneer Corps corporal, and there is Major Travers of the Royal Signals. That's quite a high ranking officer. And next to the good major is Private Bussey, another pioneer, and then somebody from the London Irish Rifles, that is Corporal Hartington, and somebody from the Royal Air Force. Leading aircraftsman G.E.M. Glassman, UT observer, UT no idea. He gave all, than more than all, he died. We've got a gunner from the Royal Artillery, and we've got another officer, a lieutenant from the Royal Army Pay Corps. Next to the man that paid the wages is Private Ball of the East Lancs, and then Sergeant Bradley of the Kings, and then Sergeant Locke of the Lancashire Fusiliers with a nice shiny new headstone. And then Bombardier Clark, Royal Artillery. They've always got such a cool logo on their thing. The gun carriage is, I just like it. I think it's quite nice. There is a corporal from the Manchester Regiment with that version of the Manchester Regiment logo. Next to that we've got a rather worn sergeant, Sergeant Ross, a wireless operator from the Royal Air Force in 1940. Then Lance Corporal Prescott, and then Lieutenant Potts, another officer from the Royal Army Medical Corps, and then Corporal Rowland, and just to finish it off, Aircraftman First Class E.R. Steventon, who again has got a nice shiny new headstone. So I wonder why those guys are all there in a neat row, but when I was looking over this way to see if I could see anything interesting, I can definitely see the back of something interesting. There's another Commonwealth war grave over here, and there he is a long way from his comrades who are all over there. This is Private Madams of the Royal Army Medical Corps, who died in 1946, so still within the period of eligibility for a war graves headstone. I can still be brave in absence when I hold you in my heart, loving wife Annie. Aww. As you know, if you watch any of our stuff, this is in loving memory of Edwin Noble, and we love things with a bit of a story. So he died at sea in 1908. Was he in the Navy? Was he just out for a swim? You know, I'd love to know the stories of these people, and his wife Annie and their daughter Edwina. Right, I think this is back into a slightly older part. That's certainly quite a nice cross, although there was lettering there that is now gone. That's quite intricate. In loving memory of Alice Mary, the beloved wife of Jefferson John Wallace, who died in 1928. So we're still in the 1900s. I think we've got a fairly reasonable guess at a date for this place. Yeah, Richard from 1932 and George from 1931 and David from 1903. So yeah, we're all back in the early 1900s. I think that's probably about as far back as we are going to get here. Here's another stone that might tell a story or might not, but you've got Jane, beloved wife of John, who died in 1896, and John, who died in 1897, and then Doris, who is on a bit that could have been something else that's been erased, that's certainly recessed, and nothing else on the stone is. And she was the daughter of William and Elizabeth Preston, who died aged 10 months, and Edith Jackson, who I guess must also be William and Elizabeth, who died aged 72, so quite a range of ages. Of course, this would all be very much the great and the good of the local area, and oh well, yeah, I say that and then you think I was making this up. It says Councillor James Henry Fisher, who died in 1916, and his Fanny, who died in 1918. Another grand Celtic cross, and this is, oh, I don't think we can read this. It says in memory of Joseph Legg. Do we have a date? That's a 19 something there. They do kind of like their Celtic crosses here. These are all quite grand, and I do like a Celtic cross, as you know. Another angel hugging the cross. Every time I see something where there's a bit broken off, like the tip of the finger, I always have a quick scan on the ground to see if it's lying about. It's probably been gone for quite a long time. Anyway, that's a nice angel with a cross, and that is in ever-loving memory of Rosa, dearly beloved wife of Robert Bailey Estill, who died in 1923, and also Robert himself, who died in 1942. Do you think when people get their tombs done and they get their gravestones done, like old Francis Cubbon Rogers there from 1904, that's quite nice, and slightly outdone by next door, it is in loving memory of Sarah Ann, the daughter of John and Mary Evans, who died in 1905. That is really cool. Again, the intricacy of the carving. These things are works of art in their own right. But do you think people looked at that and said, right, I see how big those stones are, make mine bigger. I want to stand out above everybody else, like whoever it is that's got that black Celtic cross over there. So let's go and find out. It's actually comparatively quite modern. It is from the 1950s. So that's 1950 and that is 1920. So it's all a bit of an eclectic mix, but I do say that quite a lot. So this row here is 1920s. That is John Heron, husband of Ellen M.E. Gillett, who died in 1922. And along the back there, there's lots of new gravestones. That is another lovely stone. I love stones with patina and character, I suppose, for want of a better word. In loving memory of Eddie, the beloved child of Thomas and Elizabeth Richards, who died in 1897, aged 12 months. And then Thomas, beloved husband of Elizabeth, who died in 1920. And then, guess what? Elizabeth herself from 1930. And their granddaughter, who died aged 3. Right, but the reason I come along this little row is over here we have, I think, probably the last Commonwealth war grave of the day, and that is leading stoker H. Lord from HMS Leander from 1980. Whoa! A First World War war grave. That's the first one that we found in this place. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you don't need me to tell you that old graveyards are amazing places to visit. They're just always so thought-provoking and peaceful, and yeah, usually very well kept, very well looked after. We're quite surprised in Manchester how little vandalism we're seeing signs of, actually, to be honest, because some of the areas are not the best. Thought we'd see a lot more, so that is good. And if you're wanting sort of patina and character, there is another one that's a beauty. That is in loving memory of Mary, wife of John Atkinson, who died in 1905, and John himself, who died in 1920. But I love the way the stone gets this sort of texture and this sort of, you couldn't fake that. That can only be done by time and age. I've walked past this one a couple of times and didn't think of stopping, but I'm so glad I did, because this is a fascinating wee bit of history. It's like almost like Egyptian wings, and it's in remembrance of signaller Herbert Granger, Royal Horse Artillery, who died in 1918, and he's buried in a Commonwealth cemetery in Belgium. But this thing at the top, this is amazing. What we have got here is a World War I memorial plaque. The families of dead servicemen were sent like what they called a dead man's penny or a death penny, or more appropriately a memorial plaque, and they've taken his memorial plaque, which will have his name there, and it's got Britannia and the lion, and they've put it into his tombstone. That is possibly the coolest thing I've ever seen in a graveyard. Yeah, I'm trying to get the angle right, but there you go. That is Herbert Granger's memorial plaque put into Herbert Granger's tombstone. That's amazing. This is another stone with some amazing old sort of patina and character and all that pretentious stuff that I've started talking about, in memory of Henry Hunt, who passed away on the 18th of March 1899. When the day of toil is done, when the race of life is run, Father, give thy weary one rest for evermore. These two are quite imposing as well, again lying down type gravestones. That is in loving memory of James Smith of Halens, who was born in 1862 and died in 1919. And this is in memory of James Smith as well of Hillam. So that's James Smith from Hillam, that's James Smith from Halens. And he was born in 1824 and died in 1884, I think, and also Martha, his wife, who died in 1908, and Margaret Ann and Martha Smith. Right, cool, let's keep going along this way. The amount of work that's gone into some of these is just incredible. This is to the memory of our dear wife and mother. This stone's erected in affectionate remembrance of Margaret, wife of Joseph, and she fell asleep at Crofts Bank in 1898, and of Joseph himself, and of their son and daughter and son's wife, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, we're heading across here because I've spotted another one, and this another officer, Lieutenant Bennett, MC Military Cross. He was a brave man, Royal Engineers, who died in 1945, aged 28. Beloved husband of Sheila and father of Michael. Time passes, memories remain. I was heading across to look at that one and got sidetracked a bit by this one. James Edward, beloved husband of Annie Hill, but it's a bit at the bottom. Here rests a woodman of the world, but that's what I was actually heading for, in loving memory of Stella Evelyn, dearly beloved daughter of Joseph and Rebecca Greaves of Urmston, who died in 1894, aged 6 years and 11 months, and their darling boy Norman, who was called away 4 days later, October the 12th. Oh no, that's the shepherd called and the lambs were ready. I find this quite interesting. This is the quality of the masonry and getting what you pay for. When that bird is beautifully carved in 3 dimensions, and the ivy leaves down the front of the cross are also carved in 3 dimensions. But if you go just down here a little bit, there is one that is slightly less impressively executed, because the ivy is not in 3 dimensions and the bird is not quite as bird-like.